Are we live? I believe we are live. Oh, 1 second. Let me change some mics around. All right, wonderful. There we go. I don't have any echo anymore. Good. Wonderful. Welcome, my friends. It is that time of the month again. Live feedback stream. Oh, we already got a comment. John Valhalla. Yo, this is going to be nice. Thank you. I agree. We got some great music submitted this time. All right. Well, there's always great music submitted. But we've got some wonderful pieces. I'm super excited to go through them. And I've got some fun announcements that I would like to share later on in the stream. Shipshankar, welcome, my friends. Doom Squirrel, hello, welcome. Let's dive in, shall we? So, if you've been on the channel for a while, you know the rules of the basic gist. Last live stream of every month, I do free live feedback. I make posts on Discord, Instagram, and YouTube asking for submissions, saying that everything should be under 4 minutes in length, about, you can go a couple seconds over, depending on how many submissions I get. And I ask for specific requests. The point of the specific request is this is the first time I'm actually listening to the music. I listen to each one before I go live just because I've had a couple people try to submit inappropriate things, so I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. So I make sure everything's clear, I make sure it's good, but I don't listen critically. Now, live with everybody else in the comments, we're going to listen to the submissions, going to share our thoughts, and the requests which were given help focus my thoughts. They give me something specific to listen for. We've got some additional information that sometimes people share. We've got some new people. We've got some regulars. We've got some great submissions, so let's get going. Shipshankar asks, hey, why did I stop doing contests? I stopped doing contests because I just got so busy. I am a one-man show, a one-man company technically here. So yes, I've done a couple competitions. I would love to do more in the future. But between building, I am currently working on 4 classes. All right, 3 of them free. All right, I did just posted the mix, which I'll show you this actually. 5 actually, if you think about it. So on the website, in case you didn't know, I have free classes available. Traditionally there were 4: music and harmony, music and melody theory, and 2 on orchestration. I just released the new fundamentals of mixing class, which was fundraised by all of you amazing people. I am releasing an intro to synths and sound design class on YouTube, and I'm posting the videos here as well as an ongoing class. So I did this one, I'm currently doing this one, I'm doing another one on making realistic MIDI performances, another one on music notation, and then of course, I haven't forgotten about my emotions of music class, which is being expanded. It's just with so many classes, this one's taken a bit of a back burner, unfortunately, so I am so sorry to everyone who's in the beta testing for that. I am so sorry. It will get back to it as these other classes finish. But so I'm doing 5 free classes. I'm doing live streams. I'm working on my updated textbook, which cool information about that coming up soon. I'm on top of that, I'm working on my commissions and my music and all that kind of cool stuff and private lessons that I teach. And so I've stretched very, very thin. To the point where I'm not gonna lie, a couple times I've thought about quitting YouTube just to make time for the other stuff. But I still feel like there's more I want to do with YouTube. There's more I want to do in terms of more lessons I want to share. So we'll see. I don't plan on doing YouTube forever. I have a list of things I want to share, I want to teach, I want to make available to people. Because if you know me, my history with music school, I had to drop out of music school because I just couldn't afford it. I was too broke. And that really jaded me to the idea that music school is like 10 grand a month, which is ridiculous. I do not think that music education should be reserved for the uber wealthy. I don't believe that people should be punished by going into massive amounts of debts just to learn this stuff. So I do as much as I can to share as high quality of an education as I possibly can for free and from support of donors. So eventually, when my plate is a little less full, I would like to go back to competitions because it's an opportunity for people to get have their music be heard. It's an opportunity for people to feel challenged and get some feedback on stuff. But yeah, so it's all kinds of cool stuff. But eventually, Veco Music, is the queue usually long? Not really. I've gotten, I think the most amount of submissions I've gotten for a live stream feedback is 10. Today we have 5. So it'll be fun. We've got some cool stuff to tackle. It should be fun. There's usually a week ahead of time that submissions closed last night at midnight. They always close the last Thursday beforehand at midnight. The next live stream, mark your calendar, will be March 27th. The next live feedback. So mark your calendar for the 23rd. On the 23rd, you can officially start submitting music to me on Instagram, email, or Discord. So set your calendar, set an alarm, do what you got to do. Just make sure you follow the instructions, nothing longer than 4 minutes, and have a specific request. When did the new classes come out? They just came out recently. I sent out an email to everyone on my email list. I think I got like 1,500 people on my email list. There's probably some duplicates of people with multiple emails on there. But I sent out a big old email to everybody saying, hey, Fundamentals of Mixing is up. I've had a couple people sign up already, and people have been going through it, been enjoying it. And then the synth class. These are the videos I'm posting on YouTube. They're not getting a lot of traction. I think my last video that I submitted for this series has less than 100 views, which is unfortunately not very good for the analytics on the YouTube channel. So I figured I have a lot of people coming to class. If I just start posting the videos now, which is my plan already, hopefully that'll drive a bit more views on it, and YouTube will stop penalizing me for making this series. When did they come out? Simpson Kerr, not gonna lie, I grew as a composer and learned and became a better composer because of it. Thank you very much. That makes me very happy to hear. That's why I do this. I genuinely believe we are on the cusp of a new golden age of orchestral music because it's never been more widely available as a hobby. Anyone can write for orchestral music now because of with companies like MuseScore, which have free notation software. We have sound libraries. We got all the stuff. Anyone can write for orchestra, even if they don't have access to a live orchestra of musicians or a super expensive studio. The last pillar to fall is education, and I'm trying to do my part in making that more widely available as well. Doomed Squirrel, and one of them is pretty darn short. Oh, you talking about like the 5? 5 submissions? Yes, one of these is fairly short. A couple of these are fairly short. That's good. I don't mind. There's no specific length requirement for music. But let's get started, shall we? Don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to share it. Those things help push the channel. They help YouTube not penalize me because my current series, I'm gonna level with you guys. The Intro to Mixing series I did on YouTube and the Synth series are both damaging my channel. And they're damaging my channel for a couple different reasons. One is people don't want to click on part 7 of a series if they haven't watched the first 6 episodes. And 2, people don't want to pick a 14-part series because it feels like a really big commitment. And so people see the videos, they don't watch them unless they're really, really interested in the content. And so YouTube is seeing that people aren't watching the videos, and so I'm not getting pushed as much. So my performance on the channel is actually going down the more of these classes I do. So make sure you like the stream, make sure you share the videos, all that stuff helps quite a bit. But enough of the housekeeping, let's jump in. Okay, A.K. Miller, 1975, requests, does the main theme need some variation, like an A varied? There is some variation in each appearance of the A section, but not in the main theme itself. At what point do you need to vary the theme itself? I have thoughts on this. Do the later sections, in particular the C sections, sound like they fit together? Do they belong to the same piece, or do they feel like they should be in different pieces entirely? And I have intentions of composing professionally. Do you feel this is a professional level work? Wonderful questions, A.K. Miller. Additional information. I've been following your YouTube channel for several months, but I've never participated before. Hey, welcome. Thank you for participating. Added a comment or been involved in the live stream. This is meant to be a ballet as a pas de quatre, to be exact. Modeled after the Dance of the Little Swans, also known as the Dance of the Cygnets from Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. I consider it a modified rondo form. I love Tchaikovsky's music. Let's give this a listen, shall we? like this. You've definitely got the little bouncy ballet type feel to it. I like that. That worked well. Yeah, I liked that. That was fun. All right, wonderful pas de quatre. I don't know much about ballet. I don't know much about the specifics, about techniques and all that kind of stuff. But that was very, very fun. I enjoyed it. You definitely caught the fun, bouncy tune associated with Tchaikovsky's ballets, though. Works very well. Your use of the woodwind section was beautiful and very well done. Each of the instruments sticking to their preferred registers. None of the balance was outdone too much. You did very, very well. Now, let's tackle your specific requests. Does the main theme need some variation, like an A return? There is some variation in each appearance of the A section, but not in the main theme itself. At what point do you need to vary the theme itself? That is a fantastic question. So, variation serves different purposes based on what you're working with. All right, so let me make some space. The purpose of variation depends on whether you're doing programmatic versus non-programmatic music. Programmatic music is music that tells a specific story. Oops, I cannot type today. Non-programmatic music equals music that does not tell a specific story. Variation serves very different purposes. In programmatic music, variation is used to reflect developments in the story. All right, so the character is down on their luck. So the main character's theme gets sad and a little lower energy. The character has a comeback and it's very triumphant. So the main character theme comes back big and bombastic with lots of brass. Non-programmatic music. Variation is used as a tool to demonstrate the versatility and strengths of the thematic content. So it's supposed to show that, hey, look, this theme is so well written, I can flip it upside down, I can play it backwards, I can chop it up and repeat different parts, I can change the rhythm, I can change the accents, and it still works. All right? So whether or not your theme requires variation depends on what type of music you're trying to do. Are you telling a story? If it's a ballet, you're probably telling a story because ballet is programmatic music by definition. It's a type of media music. It's music that accompanies a story. Now, if you have a story in mind, the variation you apply should be used to help reflect that story. But the variation you use can be different types. There are different types of variation. In fact, there are 9 types of music variation. In fact, if you've been on this channel for a while, you should be aware of what these 9 types are. 9 parameters of music. You can have variation across tempo, timbre, texture, rhythm, register, dynamics, articulation, harmony, and pitch/melody. I know, yes, pitch and melody are not the same thing, but pitch being one of the 9 parameters of music, and melody is a combination of pitch and rhythm. Typically, when people consider pitch, it just has to do with melody in general. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good, I've got all 9. You can use each of these to apply variation. Some of the most common types of variation that don't have to do with changing the melody itself are timbre and texture. In fact, these are the 2 types of variation John Williams uses expertly. All right, texture refers to the number and types of layers used in the music. So having your melody plus chords, that's one type of texture. It's actually called the homophonic texture. Using melody plus counter melody and bass line, polythematic texture. You don't need to know the names, but the idea that you can take this theme and repeat it multiple times, accompanying it in various different ways and forms. And that's a way to keep an idea very fresh, very interesting. John Williams does that all the time. He'll take a simple melody and he'll repeat it multiple times, each time with a different type of accompaniment. Or I should say, the types of instruments/playing techniques used. So you can have a melody played by a solo violin, then a violin section, then a full string section across multiple octaves. You could have the melody played by an oboe, like you were doing, then a clarinet, then a flute. You can do all kinds of things to keep it fresh. You don't have to change the melody itself unless you have a reason. Now, variation needs to serve a purpose, either to reflect what's happening in your story or to demonstrate the versatility of your thematic content. Demonstrating the versatility of your thematic content can be a little bit different if you're not used to thinking in non-story related terms. Usually, in this case, you have an idea of what the most extreme variation of your theme is going to be. So you have the original theme, then you find the most extreme change, whether you're chopping it up, flipping it upside down, putting it in a different texture, whatever you're doing, this is the most extreme version. And then all the other variations in between are kind of like a bridge to get there. And usually it's like a story in some ways where you don't want to just be completely, hey, I did this, and now I'm at the climax, the big giant change. You can do that, but sometimes it's fun to get something that gets a bit closer than something a little bit further away, something more like the original, something a little more abstract than something a little closer to the original. So you, like a story doesn't go straight to the final battle. There's a little bit of tug and pull there, right? Hopefully that's helpful. The next question, do the later sections, in particular the C section, sound like they fit together? Do they belong to the same piece? Yes, I thought it felt very well. The C section, that was the one with the long sustained strings and the horns. I believe that worked very, very well. It offered a very much needed contrast. Every once in a while, you should have some contrasting themes, especially in a rondo form, where it goes A, B, A, C, A, or basically a repeating refrain with different verses. Those different verses help provide contrast to keep the refrain from getting boring. So I think it worked very, very well. I think your transition was pretty solid. You could have transitioned a little bit more, I think. I've talked about transitions in the past. I don't want to spend too much time just here. I can talk about them again down the line. But for the most part, it works really, really well. And you said, I have intentions of composing professionally. Do you feel this is professional level work? I'm not going to answer this one. For a reason, I'm going to give you a different answer. Lots of people are frustrated. I give this talk so much. A lot of people like, hey, is this professional level? Hey, is that professional level? How do I know if I'm professional level? I'm going to tell you the truth. Professional level, there is no baseline. All right? Good enough to be professional relies on 2 things. 1, someone who's willing to pay you or find you work likes your music. Actually, no, that's it. That's the one thing. I am by no means a genius composer. I like to think I'm pretty good. I'm good enough to find consistent work at least. I'm not a genius composer. I know a lot of people who are way more talented, way more gifted than me. But to be a little honest, they have very difficult personalities to get along with. So if you want to be a media composer in particular, all you have to be is good enough that the director likes your music. All right? keep improving, keep trying to get better. That's all you can do. Try to get better, try to get better, try to get better. Keep learning, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. That's what I say at the end of like every video, right? But I have met so many musicians who are head and shoulders more skilled than me, who are composing things that make me feel inadequate as a musician. And yet they can't find work, and the reason why is because, to be honest, they're just jerks. They're very difficult to get along with. They're condescending. They're stressful. They refuse to compromise on anything. Writing music and making films, plays, which is mostly what I do, is hard work, and it's stressful. Everyone is insecure. Everyone feels like an imposter. Everyone is stressed out, and no one knows if we're going to make it to the deadline or not. At that point, the director doesn't want Mr. Juilliard graduate if Mr. Juilliard graduate is a dick and going to just make everything super stressful. Mr. Director or Mrs. Director or whoever wants the composer who's going to be a source of strength. Someone who's going to, they like their music and they're easy to work with. All right? So my advice always to young composers trying to be professional is, one, work on yourself. All right? Work on yourself so that you are a kind of person who works well under pressure, the kind of person who can argue about music, because there's always arguments, without making the argument about the other person. Never make it about, like, well, you don't like it because of this, or you don't like it because of that. No. Focus on the music. Be someone who can argue well, and I don't mean win arguments. I mean you can argue and have the other person not feel bad or feel frustrated. Be the kind of person who works well under pressure and doesn't snap at people. And just be a friendly person that people enjoy working with. Other than that, work on constantly getting better at your craft, and you'll find work. All right? That's the best advice I could offer. Hopefully that's helpful. Don't forget to like the stream, people. Thank you very much. So, wonderful work, A.K. Miller. I appreciate you. Let's see the comments. Shipshankur, the day I found your channel and live feedback, I was 17 at the time when I first set the first music. Your appreciation and teaching is the reason I grew. Very grateful for you, sir. Thank you very much. That makes me so happy. Honestly, I love hearing that people find this channel helpful. I spend a lot of time and effort working on this channel, and so just knowing that I've been able to have a positive impact is... It does. It gives me, my abuelito used to say, it gives me animo. It gives me spirit. It gives me heart to keep going, right? Yep, Shipshakur is very Tchaikovsky and Shostakovich mixed. Nice one. Wonderful. Doom Squirrel, wow, this is sweet. Awesome. Wonderful. Ken Applegate. Moving on. Ken Applegate requests, the linked video is a short musical greeting card I wrote for Valentine's Day. One thing I have always been weak at has been expanding on or developing ideas. How would you suggest going about expanding this into a full-length concert work? Ooh, very nice. All right, I got some thoughts already, but let's give it a listen first. Was beautiful. Ken, my friend, that was absolutely gorgeous. All right, wonderful job, SDSM official. Welcome, my friend, says the ear candy is awesome. I agree, all of your different little textures here gives so much color. You did masterful decision-making with which instruments should be playing each part. You made great use of all your resources. It's a very, very beautiful piece. All right, so You say you struggle with developing ideas. How do I suggest about expanding this into a full-length concert work? My best advice, and this goes for anyone who struggles making more than like an 8-bar, 16-bar, whatever. If you struggle to make full-length pieces of music, the problem is you probably don't understand structure. If you struggle to write full-length pieces, then chances are you don't understand structure/forms. So a lot of people think that the great composers of the past just had an idea and they just expanded wherever their brilliant brains said this is where the music should go. And that's, to an extent, kind of true, but it's very, very misleading. When a composer writes a symphony, that doesn't just mean it's a long piece of music. No, a symphony has a very specific structure to it. And it always starts with, for example, it's a 4-part movement, 4-movement piece of music, and it usually starts with something called sonata form. Sonata form is an example. So structure and forms are very, very basically just the number of themes you're going to write and the order in which they appear. So sonata form goes A, B, B, sometimes with a transition. This is what's called the exposition. All right? So this says you have an A theme, your primary most important theme. All right? Then you repeat that primary most important theme. You have a little bit of a transition, just a couple bars usually, and then you have your secondary theme, the contrast, the second idea. And then to make sure it's really locked in, you replay it. All right, and then usually, traditionally, it gets repeated. If you see 2 little dots followed by a bar, double bar line, this is a repeat sign. It means repeat everything that's in here. So this is just the exposition. All right? Then we have the development. All right? Then we have the recapitulation, which is again A, B, B. So development, I didn't add a structure because the development is different for each one. It basically says, hey, you've got these 2 ideas, and we're going to start building on them. We're going to develop them. All right? And then we talked about variation just a little bit ago. So if it's a programmatic music, the themes are going to each stand for an idea, and then the development will tell a story with the themes. All right? If it's non-programmatic music, the variation is used as a tool to demonstrate the versatility and strengths of the thematic content. We talked about all this just a moment ago. And so the development section is used to demonstrate how interesting an idea is. Maybe I've got the anniversary of the channel coming up. Maybe I'll try composing a sonata form live, like a piano sonata for you guys live. I think that'd be fun. But why is this useful? All right, because it tells you what to do with your ideas. So let's imagine, just for a moment, that each of these themes is 8 bars long. All right? 8-bar theme. You repeat it. That's 16 bars. All right? Another 16 over here, that's 32 bars. Let's say your transition is 4 bars long. That's 36 measures. And then it all gets repeated. All right? That is now 72 measures of music in just the first chunk. All right? 72 measures. And then let's say that it's another 36 over here. I'm terrible at math, so I'm not going to keep going. But you can see how easily, between all this, the development section, just this little formula, just this little structure, already tells you, hey, you're 2 8-bar ideas. You had 16 measures of original music, an 8-bar idea and a second 8-bar idea. Following this structure, you now have over 100 bars of music. Now, structure in concert music is fairly similar. There's lots of classical structures. So another structure is like rondo form, which our friend A.K. Miller just used. That goes A equals A, B, A, C, A. It's a refrain with interrupting new ideas. So again, 8 times 5, that's 40 bars right there that you've got available. So the idea of developing full-length pieces into music It really just comes down to structure and understanding the structures. Now, if you're a media composer, this becomes difficult. Media composers are at the mercy of the principle of subordination, which basically states that your structure, your form, it doesn't come from these classical forms. It comes from the story. All right? The structure comes from your story. The number and order of themes is determined by the story you are telling, not some objective musical form, like sonata form. Now, if you want to learn how to do it as a media composer, I have a couple resources I can offer to you. First one, just look up Tabletop Composer, full-length pieces. Let's see if this will pop it up. Full-length pieces. Longer structures. Here it is. Turning melodic ideas into full pieces. This video. Watch this video. It'll explain the whole thing. You can also find it as part of my melody class here. All of these classes are free. As the Academy is a free donations-based class. You don't have to donate to take the classes, but I strongly encourage you to because it helps me make more classes. Now, if you want another structured approach, that segues me into a perfect opportunity to talk about an exciting announcement for the channel. I am updating my textbook, and it's almost here. So years ago, this was like the first version of the textbook. It was just a little manifesto about my philosophy on telling stories with music. It has a chapter on the 9 parameters of music, a chapter on like writing character themes, world themes and sound palettes, and portraying emotions with music. I wrote this, I can't remember. Does it say have a date in here? 2021 is when I made this one. And it went really well. I have a whole box of these actually still, because back when I used to sell them out of my house. But then I updated it. And I have this version, which is substantially thicker, about 400 pages long. And it includes all of the chapters from here, as well as 35 chapters about music theory and composing. Basically taking you from writing harmony, melody writing, and orchestrating. I have updated this for 60 new pages. 3rd edition. Now, cool news is if you already bought this, you're getting a free copy. All right? I don't believe in charging twice for the same thing. My whole mission is making music and education more accessible. So if you already paid for it, you're just going to get a free ebook. If you bought it on my website, you will automatically be sent a link to the new updated version once it's available. If you purchased a physical copy on Amazon, unfortunately, I don't have the money available to give you free copies of physical copies because I have to pay for them. I would just, I'll send you, again, send me a receipt or something. I'll make an announcement, but I'll send you a free ebook copy as well. 60 new pages, new examples, new ideas. I'm very, very excited about this. I am currently proofreading it. And once it's proofreading it, I'm going to make some changes, add some more examples, some stuff like that. And then I'm thinking about doing a pre-order system where you can pre-order physical copies from my website, and then however many copies of this book I still have, sorry, I keep it on my keyboard. However many copies I have of the original, I'm just going to throw in like a free copy of the original. It's kind of like cool little tabletop history kind of thing, tabletop composer history. So you'll get the new book as well as the original version of it. But this book teaches you everything you need to know about composing. If you want to see the table of contents, it's available on my website. It's going to be updated because, like I said, I've added about 60 pages, but this little button right here, click it, and it takes you to the table of contents. You can see all the cool stuff that it covers. It's got great reviews on my website and on Amazon, and it was definitely a passion project of mine. But yeah, so I'm very excited to announce that will probably be rolling out in the next week or two because I'm this close to finish reading it. I've got like 60 more pages to get through for proofreading, and then I'm just gonna make all the changes that need to be made to it, update it, get all the sound examples because now I finally am adding sound to the examples, and it's gonna be hosted on the website and all that kind of cool stuff. So keep an eye out for that. I'm gonna probably, like I said, I'll make an announcement. I've also got a bunch of Tabletop Composer stickers that my sister bought me a while ago. It's like my logo and they're all stickers. So I'll probably toss in a couple stickers as well as original copies of the book with everyone who pre-orders a copy of the new version from my website. Unfortunately, just because just for shipping purposes, I will only be able to probably do the continental United States for this one. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Physical copies will be available on Amazon, though, for people who want to get physical copies. But the pre-order, unfortunately, will probably be limited to just continental United States, just because I don't have the resources for shipping worldwide. Let's see here. Hi, welcome Tamashi. Always good to see the OG of the channel. Doom Squirrel can confirm that Ken doesn't understand form at all. I should know that's me. Thank you so much for this. Happy to help, Doom Squirrel. Ken. No, let's see here. Let's see here. Let me see here. He's alive. I'm here, by the way, just looking. Hey, 23 is here as well. Also looking at me. Awesome. We got a lot of OGs here. Welcome, my friends. Don't forget to like the stream. So, awesome. Let's move on, shall we? Third on the docket, Louis Ogles. I am sorry if I have butchered the pronunciation name. Maybe it's Louis Ogle. But here we go. Music. I don't know why I said that. But anyway, request. I'm planning on composing more battle themes soon. So I would love some feedback on the overall mix and whether instruments are well balanced throughout. Also, have I built my low end too much or is it okay? Musically, I think it's okay, but I'm very new to the tech side of things. So any tips on things like reverb as well as mastering these tracks would be great. Thanks in advance. I'll tell you what, my friend, if you're looking for work on mixing, check out my free class on mixing, fundamentals of mixing. So mixing and mastering are separate things. Mixing happens to do with like creating the most clear and well-balanced arrangement of your audio tracks as possible. Mastering has to do with getting multiple mixes to sound similar so that they can fit into an album or something like that. Completely free to join. Thanks to the tremendous generosity of the individuals who helped raise the money that helped fund me as I built this class. You can take it on. Its videos are available on YouTube as well. But this will teach you a lot about reverb, balancing, all that kind of cool stuff. So let's listen to Louis.
To start a podcast with Riverside, all you need is a concept and a way to record.
No, thank you. Ooh, I like this. Oh. Lewis, my friend. Incredible work. Wonderful job. You demonstrated so many things incredibly well in this. So a couple things I want to point out that people can learn from this is, well, first, everybody in the comments is already pointing out your use of sound variety is just, oh, your ear candy is on point. All right. You could give a diabetic issues with all the ear candy in here. And it works because you glue everything together with a very nice repetitive ostinato. That's how an ostinato works in this kind of stuff. In loopable music, the ostinato in the background, an ostinato is the rhythmic strings. An ostinato is a short, repetitive, rhythmic idea. All right, and it's constant throughout this. And it doesn't have a lot of variability like a good ostinato shouldn't. It's supposed to be repetitive because it acts like a metronome. It acts as like a background glue that creates everything, it makes it feel cohesive. So that when you're going crazy with like the female vocalist and the musical saw and the choirs and the cello and you're moving around a bunch of different sounds left and right, that similarity, that familiarity in the background glues it all together. So that's a general rule of thumb that people should be aware of. Thumb. If you are going to move rapidly through multiple different sounds / ideas, you can keep it from sounding super chaotic by a couple things. One, using a simple and repetitive rhythmic idea constantly in the background. An ostinato. All right? Put it in there and change it minimally. All right? You can make changes to keep it interesting, but don't get crazy with it. Make sure it stays recognizable. And number two, use only one new idea at a time. That's something you did very, very well. You introduce only one new idea at a time. This works really, really well because it plays to the strengths of the 3 pillars of good orchestration. If you want to know the 3 pillars of great orchestration, they are separation, focus, and balance. I have talked about them so much that I'm not going to talk about it here. You can learn more in my textbook. You can learn more by Googling my name. Tabletop Composer, 3 pillars. Boom. This video right here. I've got over 500 videos, people. I've talked about everything almost. But what it says is that novelty is the biggest tool for clarity in music. And it can be to your detriment or to your advantage. Now, if you've got everything nice and repetitive in the background with your ostinato, introducing one idea at a time, like you did in this one, allows the audience to snap onto it and pay attention and go, ooh, that sounds really cool. And then once it's been used, then you can layer it on a couple times, repeat it, because repetition establishes something as familiar, something as genuine, as legitimate, and it doesn't demand your attention as much. And then once you bring the ideas back a couple times, then you are free to introduce another new idea. But if you introduce 4 new sounds all at the same time, then it sounds chaotic, it sounds muddy, it sounds tricky because they're all demanding attention, and you don't know what you're supposed to focus on. So this is a fantastic rule of thumb. You use it expertly well in this piece. So fantastic work on that. Now, something that you could benefit from. All right, because speaking of muddy, the mix is pretty decent. The reverb is a bit much. So the purpose of a solid amount of reverb is to help glue everything together. So for those of you who don't know, reverb is used to imitate the impact that a room has on a sound. So, excuse me, if I say, hey, here's this horn. All right, I'm just playing this little horn idea. I say, all right, what does this horn sound like if it was played in a cathedral? And let's increase the volume. So what happens if it sounds like it was replayed in a cathedral? All right, we'll bring this down to about like 25%. and it impacts the size of the room. What does it sound like if it's in a large hall? About 25% is a safe amount. What if it's in a small room, like a little studio? Now, the purpose of reverb is it's supposed to make all of your instruments sound like they were recorded in the same room. All right, so again, you want to learn more about it. Look at my name, reverb. Intro to mixing, simple strategy with EQ. It's part of this series. Mixing simple strategy. You could also, again, go to my website and you can learn about reverb and applying it for mixes in Fundamentals of Mixing. Free class, sign up. It's awesome. Thank you to the people who help support the building of it. The problem with reverb is based off the different, if you have too much of it, it starts to make your instrument sound distant. All right, let's make this more obvious by putting it in something like a cathedral. High mix, that sounds very far away. If it's really low, it sounds much closer. The further you move away, you kind of find that balance. Right now, you have a pretty strong mix on everything. And what that happens is you can hear that tail. The tail being the sounds that like echo, like the echoey type qualities. When you have a lot of a high mix and reverb, a lot of your sounds in this piece start to mix together and they get a little muddy. It's not bad, it's not terrible, it doesn't ruin the music. But if I'm being picky, which I want to be so I can give you something beneficial, you've got a lot of reverb here and it saps some of the power that your music could have. So that's why I would recommend learn a little bit more about mixing. Again, this class is a fantastic starting point. It's fundamentals, it's basic stuff, but it'll help quite a bit, I think. I hope that's helpful. Again, that general rule of thumb people can learn from your music is fantastic. I hope that's helpful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I agree about the reverb. I worry that everything is too close sounding, so add a lot. No worries. It's a typical thing that lots of composers do. But yeah, again, take the free class. It'll help a lot. Also, for those of you who are wondering, the entirety of the free class is also included in the updates of the textbook, so keep an eye out for that. This book covers everything from reading sheet music to writing really cool chord progressions that tell a story, to reharmonizing, to update your chord progressions when it gets very for variety, for writing themes, writing full-length structured pieces of music, for writing character themes, world themes, emotions, and music, orchestration, creating realistic MIDI performances, and mixing. This is my guide to basically everything I wish I had been able to learn much, much quicker as a composer. Copies are available in my book, but the updated version is not out yet. Everyone who's purchased a copy will get a free copy of the ebook. So even if you bought the book like 5 years ago, like when it was this tiny little version, you will get an updated version of that. Okay? Keep an eye out for that. Next, Vincent Kubler. I wanted the vibe of the piece to be relatively neutral, ambiguous, and atmospheric with a hint of warmth. Hence, it is a fairly jazzy in the chords. Since it is a background element, I also don't want it to stand out too much, hence the slow tempo. I hope I succeeded. I am open to any criticism and ideas to enhance this piece. Additional information. This is the new piece I was talking about the last time I was in your stream. It is for the main menu of my indie game project. The video background is a screen capture of the game. I showed it to 2 of my friends and they told me it's one of their favorite pieces of mine. I agree from a technical view, it is one of my best works. A lot of time went into fine-tuning and playing the piano/swarm cello. I think it's supposed to be swarm cello. I sadly won't be able to watch the live stream to answer any questions in the chat, but we'll definitely catch the recording once it is online. What do you think? Wonderful. I'm excited to share some thoughts. Now, I have to use the restroom real quick, so let's go back to Lewis's piece. I will be back momentarily. We'll watch this again. I'll be back in time for, let me make sure autoplay is off. And I will be back in a moment, my friends. All right, thank you, Lewis, for letting me use your music for an excuse. All right. Yes. So sorry, people. Yes, it's a very good piece of music. Happy to help, Lewis. And yes, everybody, go check out each other's music. All right. Support each other. Vincent. Okay, back to Vincent again. So this is the piece we're reviewing now. Sorry, I am on the back end of a cold. I'm just getting over it, so got a bit of a cough still. This is the background. I don't want to stand out too much, hence the slow tempo. I hope I succeeded. I'm open to any criticism and ideas and enhance the piece. We are about to watch a very different vibe, but I'm excited for this one. Let's give it a listen. Vincent, that was absolutely breathtaking. Beautiful, beautiful piece. I think 23 hit it on the nose. No, it was actually SDSM official. Saying, love that the strings sound like they're breathing. Yes. Yes, you brought so much life into the MIDI performance. So, a little note people can learn from this is expressivity in music comes from manipulating three things. Three things in real time. All right? Pitch, volume, and timbre. So the idea that for pitch, the biggest one is vibrato. So if we have like a violin 1, and we take this, you can watch the vibrato increase. Super straight tone. Vibrato, they'll start to like wiggle the strings back and forth, which makes it go slightly sharp, slightly flat. And it introduces this idea of like movement to the sound. So in a real expressive human performance, Musicians will often apply vibrato gradually, or start with a lot of it and come down, but they'll manipulate that use of pitch through vibrato. Another one they will have is they will very rarely do just like kind of play this straight tone. They will manipulate their volume. But go on. Well, let me use a mod wheel for this. But watch the little dynamics thing. The thing is soft, loud, soft again. Manipulating volume as you perform. And then, of course, with the mod wheel, there's also a bit of the timbre. A brighter quality by playing harder, and a warmer quality by playing softer. If I play this super loud, you can hear how it says, it becomes a bit more apparent in something like a brass instrument. Let's pull up a horn. You can hear how it sounds super bright. And around here, it gets warmer. Super bright. You can hear in most instruments, in most brass instruments, there's a breaking point where you hear it suddenly get much brighter. And that's another manipulation of timbre. You can visualize this with a spectrometer as we watch more and more harmonics join, the louder we get. The more harmonics there are, the brighter the sound, right? So these are the three things, and these are things that you do really, really well. Now, a musician, a real person, can do all of these instinctively. A computer cannot. Computers, lots of people like to think computers are super smart. They're not. They're very stupid. They're just very good at multitasking and doing exactly what you tell them to do. A computer cannot yet extrapolate information without being told how and why to extrapolate. A human being can make a bunch of that's what makes us so intelligent, is we can pick up on patterns and make those decisions. A computer cannot do that. A computer cannot pick up on patterns, cannot extrapolate information unless it is very specifically told to do that. And in a live performance, a musician can read sheet music and make all of these intuitive decisions, and that's what makes it sound so rich, so human, so emotional. A computer cannot do that. Instead, you have to go in and do all of that information yourself, saying, hey, there's pitch, then there's things like velocity, and then you've got things like modulation data, and you've got things like expression data, and all of these different things that you have to go in and manually tweak to get a realistic performance. So that's what Vincent's saying when he's saying that he did all this work to get these performances. Very, very well done. Beautiful piece. The one thing I will say, because I want to give you some kind of idea, is at times, I believe you misgrooved the suspension pedal, the dampener pedal. So there are a couple times on the piano where you've got this beautiful, let's do this. Let's say we do this. You hear that nice haunting kind of, the chords, the sounds blended to each other. There are a couple times where you had a break, where it's like this. And sometimes, if that was the deliberate, so that break I'm talking about is from the suspended pedal. So I'm holding my pedal down, I take my foot off the pedal, and it stops holding the pitch. That's one of the three pedals found on most grand pianos, the other ones being the una corda and the sostenuto pedal. Check out my textbook to learn more about what those are if you're interested, or just Google it. You don't have to buy stuff, but it helps support the channel. There are a couple moments where this is such an ambient, lush, legato, lyrical piece of music that break feels a little jarring. Where you almost want to have that, where it just flows seamlessly. So if we view this on a spectrometer again, we can see how there's no break, how there's constantly sound going. But if I go, can see how the sound starts to disappear. I wonder why it takes so long to go down. Let's get rid of the reverb on this. There should be no reverb on this. Whatever, it's the sound library. But that's my one thing. My one thing for being picky is you've got your sustain pedal misgrooved a couple times. Where you're like sustain right here, and then there's a quick little break here just before you hit. Why did it do that? Why did it... What? I'm still getting used to Cubase 15. But you've got this little, quick little... Stop it. How do I... Bruh, that is gonna bother me. I gotta figure that out. You've got this little break where it cuts off just before the next one starts. Bring that over as a general rule of thumb. You want your sustain pedal to break shortly after a note plays, usually. And then pick up, so that it has something to carry over. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm getting tired. We've been doing this stream for about an hour now. It's a very high energy thing for me. I hope that's helpful. If not, let me know, and I can try to explain myself better. We've got 2 more to go. Shipshin Kerr, one of the regulars on the channel. Let's see here. The biggest question is at the very end. There is a C sharp dominant 7 chord. The progression goes C sharp minor, G minor 7, flat 5. Oh, then C sharp dominant 7. Can I play this? I don't know. All right, I'm assuming that's it. I'm a terrible piano player. Now I'm completely stuck. I have no idea what to do next. I've been brainstorming ideas for weeks, but nothing fits. This is going to come back to structure, like I said earlier. I want something cinematic and big sounding, not epic, but also heart-wrenching and achingly beautiful. Something touching and memorable, but I cannot find anything. And there is a deadline of February 28th. Oh, my dude, it's the 27th. Oh, I hope you figured this out already. I want something achingly beautiful, and it will be using secondary dominant, similar to the first section, but painful. But I am completely stuck, and I have no idea. I know what I'll write next and how I'll end it, but I have no idea what to write here, and I cannot just find anything. How to use a secondary dominance and half diminished to write painful, heart-wrenching music. Pluto Projector is a great example, or generally the right painfully expressive music. Sometimes the secondary dominant chord doesn't resolve to tonics like 5 dominant 7 to 6 to 4. It sounds great, but how does it work? Oh, so yeah. Like, yeah, I can explain this one. This one's going to be easy. I can explain that. Tips for clarity and orchestration, how to write clean and cinematic string sections. I have a tight budget for sound libraries. Okay, so I've got a couple that I can help. Some of these I'm not going to be able to help all that much with, but I will do the best I can. All right, let's listen to Shipshin Kerr. Oh, that's beautiful. That was beautiful. So, Shimshon Kerr, my man, you are so tremendously skilled. Honestly, everybody on this channel is amazing, but I feel like you're one of the best orchestrators who routinely submit stuff. I would love to know how you got this good at orchestration. I feel like I could learn some stuff from you. What do you study? What resources do you work with? I'd love some recommendations because I love orchestration, but oh man, you've got that romantic composer feel. But let's see what I can do for you. All right, so unfortunately, this one right here, the best thing I can do is just tell you to follow the structure. I don't know what you learned about structure. We had that big old talk earlier in the stream about structure and form. That's going to determine what you do next. All right? So if you don't have a structure in mind, you should probably find one that fits what you've written already or comes close to it, because that's going to tell you what you should do next. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck just kind of doing trial by error. So let's see. Let's see here. So unfortunately, that's going to come down to structures. The best thing I can say to you. Knowing what to do next, where to go next. Is it going to be a new theme? Is it going to be a development of the original theme? Is it going to be a new texture idea? That's all going to come from your structure. Are you telling a story? What's the next step in your story? That's going to answer a lot of the questions for this first one. Secondary dominance and half diminished to write a painful, heart-wrenching music. I'm not familiar with Pluto Projector. I'll have to give that a listen. I would just caution you, these are wonderful tools. They are useful as gestures, but the key of emotion and music come from that valence, size, and energy, which I have talked extensively about. And we're running out of time, so I don't have time to go into it right now, but just look up Tabletop Composer, Emotions and Music. I've got so many resources. I have an entire book about it. How to portray emotions with music off the score. It's another thing. I have a video I did very recently with the Indie Film Music Contest. Relatively recently, I should say. This one right here, How to Write Emotional Music, IFMC Masterclass. Check that one out. It'll give you a lot more information. I know you already know that model, though, because you've been around for long enough. But while these are very useful for... without knowing what you're specifically trying to do. But this is one I can answer more specifically. Sometimes secondary dominants don't resolve to its tonic, like the 5-7 or a 6-1-4. It sounds great, but how does it work? This one, very simple to answer. Now, there's additional things, but I'm going to talk about most of it. So a secondary dominant is just a dominant 7th chord. All right, so let's say like the C dominant 7. Dominant 7th chords get their power from the functional tritone. The 3rd and 7th form a tritone together. Very crunchy and wants to resolve. All right, how does it resolve? Traditionally, by going to the tonic. It's gonna bother me if I didn't finish it. Whatever, it messed it up. But this tritone resolves very nicely. Actually, let's change this to the key of C major, since that's easier for most people. All right. G dominant 7 resolves to C major because the functional tritone resolves the way it wants to. All right, the F moves down to E, the B moves up to C. It's beautiful, everyone's happy. Now, the reason why these chords can resolve deceptively, like to the 6. Because that functional tritone, it still resolves. Just differently. Instead of going, you go, and it sounds very heart-achingly emotional because it denies what we expect. We expect that nice little powerful, happy, everything's over kind of sound. Because in the original, We also have something called cycle root 5, where the roots move down by a perfect fifth, which sounds very final. Bum, bum. All right. With the minor chord, it doesn't have that, and so it feels a little weaker. But the tritone, the most important, still resolves, right? Now, there are other ways you can resolve this. A substitute dominant, which is taken from outside of the key, can resolve by moving down to the original chord. It can resolve by moving up a half step, a major second, which mimics a deceptive cadence. And it can also do moving down by a half step, because it mimics a substitute dominant or tritone substitution, which works. Or is that correctly? Yeah, so that works still. That works really well. It can also resolve by moving up a half step, just because half steps work very well, because the tritone, again, resolves a little bit. Not the way it would like to, but it still resolves in a way. So there are lots of different ways to resolve a deceptive cadence, or resolving secondary dominants. Moving down a perfect fifth, the typical authentic cadence sound. Moving up a major second, the typical deceptive cadence sound. Moving down a half step, the typical tritone substitution sound. Or moving up a half step helps resolve the functional in a weaker format. There's no shortage of ways you can do this, and these aren't the only ones. There's lots of others that you can work with. So he's like 10 bars away. One thing I can recommend is an extended dominant series. It creates this dreamy type quality. So it's a series of dominant chords. And what it does is you're saying basically, saying, all right, let's take a dominant chord. And then let's resolve that to another dominant chord. And then let's resolve that to another dominant chord. And let's resolve that to another dominant chord. So G dominant 7 to C dominant 7 to F dominant 7 to a D dominant 7. And of course, I just taught you all those different ways they can resolve. Well, first, let's try. They can all dissolve deceptively instead. So you can say, all right, what if I do? And then what if I do just a series of dominant 7 chords, each resolving deceptively? You can even have them resolve in different ways. So one goes deceptively, the other goes traditionally. You can take another one and resolve deceptively. You can create all the things. You can even do an extended, like a jazz cadence type sound, where you take each of these and you shorten them and you add the 2 minor 7 to make the jazz cadence. Which is the typical sound. That's how it would normally sound. But we're gonna just take this, we're gonna add it for each of these. So we've got D minor 7. And this is literally just a chain of dominant sevenths. So extended dominant series. Using any of the types of resolutions that you were listed above. Or you can do 2 minor 7, 2D7 chain. Using any of the types of resolutions that were listed above. All right, that works. Another thing you can do is just creating a chain of CRs. Chord relationships are combinations of chords that work really well together. You just like the way they sound. Like an A minor to D major is one of my favorites. And what you can do is you can just alternate using inversions. I'm just repeating the same 2 chords over and over again, changing inversions to keep it interesting. There's no shortage of opportunities you can go with. Oh, wonderful. Glad you found an idea. So yeah, if it's a transition, like just 10 bars, there's so much cool stuff you can do. Just figure out where you want to go, where you're starting, and then just create this little chain. In fact, honestly, you can just do what's called, another one, a constant structure progression. Build a bass line that you like. Use the same exact chord shape over each note. So if I say like C, G, F is my bass line, and I just say C dominant 7, G dominant 7, F dominant 7, and we can just continue that pattern. These were very popular by Claude Debussy. There's all kinds of really cool stuff you can do. I am such a nerd for music theory. Shipshanker, how good is my harmony, by the way? I'm just 19. Dude, you're killing it. All right, your harmony sounds great. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just keep studying and having fun with it. All right, hopefully that helps. You got like less than a day, dude. It's due tomorrow. All right, work on it. You got it. Good luck. I'm going to move on. Unfortunately, I spent a lot of time on that one. We have one person left. Samuel Sheridan. How can I make the beginning more atmospheric? Let's give a listen, shall we? Ooh. Dude, amazing. All right, so yeah, that beginning is not very atmospheric, but it's some pretty dang epic music, all right? Atmospheric music, we should probably define this. Atmospheric music, there's a lot of different ways people can define this, a lot of different ways people can work with it, but generally speaking, atmospheric music is any type of music that emphasizes sound or timbre more than pitch and rhythm. All right, so the thematic development, the idea of the theme comes from your sound, your timbre, more so, this is the defining quality of the sound, more so than pitch and rhythm. This was one of Claude Debussy's great innovations in music, one of the amazing French impressionist composers. He was the first composer to truly elevate sound and timbre to the same level of importance as pitch and rhythm. Pitch and rhythm are the basis of melody. Timbre and sound can also be thematic. So you hear, so 23 said maybe by adding texture like wind and water. That's a great idea. Using soundscapes is a great way to introduce an idea of timbre, of sound. Using the sound of like a stream is an emphasis on sound, on timbre quality. There are other ways you can do this. You'll hear lots of atmospheric, like synth music. The whole idea, let's create a synth here. Why am I playing the piano? I don't want to play the piano. What is this? Oh, I don't know what the monitor button is. Oh, that's cool. So we have a nice little synth here. Sorry, I got distracted. Let's see here. Let's get a new one. We're going to just create a super simple little sound wave. We're going to create a nice, cool atmospheric drone. We'll do this. A little bit of chorusing. If you want to learn how to use synths, check out my new YouTube series, and I am uploading it as a free class to my website as well. Academy free class. Intro to Synth and Sound Design. It's also available on YouTube. Check out my playlists. I'm teaching how to use synthesizers. But here we have a very rapidly created atmospheric pad. Why is it atmospheric? Because the personality comes mostly from the sound. If we add a performer like this, and we create this shifting quality, and we apply this to our oscillator wave shape, you'll hear how the sound transforms over time. Because this knob is getting turned by this. All right, now it's all the way over here. Now it's slowly getting turned back. All right, so that's an atmospheric drone. Why? Because the emphasis isn't on the pitch. Yes, there's pitch element. Yes, there's a rhythm element, but the emphasis is on the sound. That's what makes things atmospheric. So at the beginning of your track very much has like that strong rhythmic, like cello striking sound. But that's not an emphasis on timbre for its own sake. That's the key to atmosphere. Make sound the emphasis, not necessarily rhythm or pitch. You can do this orchestrally as well. So for example, what if we take the violins here? We'll take a brass library, strap it up here. Let's give them the same chord. All right? We're gonna say violins. We're just gonna go. We're gonna give them an A minor chord. And all we're gonna do is gonna stretch this out over here. We're going to give the same exact track to the mid brass here. But what we're going to do, and when you want to do this orchestrally, is going to tell one library, hey, max volume, and then slowly fade out. While the other one is, hey, minimum volume, and fade in. This is called a crossfade. While one is fading out, the other is fading in, and it creates this transforming quality. Just one chord, notes aren't changing, pitches aren't changing, but the timbre changes, and that's what gives it that atmospheric quality. Cool, isn't it? Now watch what happens if we take this even further. By, I don't know, let's add a choir. Oh, Shift and Kerr, you asked about which libraries I recommend. If you're just getting started, I recommend Musio. All right, Musio is by far the most bang for your buck. All the libraries available. Then as you get more experienced and you decide what you want, you can always make changes. And decide what libraries you want. But Musio, I think, is the most bang for your buck. In terms of like the most instruments you'll get, they're very high quality. Then after you get a bit more experience, you know what you're looking for, you can have a lot of fun with it that way. So that we can say, let's start with the choir and the strings. And again, we're going to hear how this sound transforms. Right? This is the technique that's been used by orchestrators for who knows how long. Just tell one place, hey, play this chord, and gradually fade out. You guys start super soft and start fading in. Fantastic strategy, but that's honestly at the core of all atmospheric music. That's literally all it is the emphasis is on sound, more so than pitch or rhythm. Pitch is staying constant, rhythm isn't really introduced at all in this. We just have a shifting sound. So if you want your music to sound more atmospheric, S.B. Sheridan, or Samuel Sheridan, if you want your music to sound more atmospheric, that's what you need to do. You need to find a way to emphasize sound as the primary mover of your timbre. You don't have that so much in the beginning of this one. If we go all the way back, it's a very beautiful, epic piece of music. You have a sound, and you have some rhythm, but then immediately you introduce a melody. You have maybe 8 seconds. And they also have very transient attacks. Transient meaning, bam, it happened on that beat. If you have them a slow fade in, that can be more ambient again because it removes that element of rhythm. But hopefully that is helpful. So thank you, my friends, for stopping by. That brings us to the end of another live stream. We covered a lot of really good information this time around. Don't forget, new classes available on the free academy on my website. Thank you to my donors who made that possible. If you want to be supportive, check out my bookstore. New update to the textbook coming out. Everybody who's purchased a copy above it before will get a free ebook copy coming out. Keep an eye out if you want physical copies. I will be doing pre-orders on the website. Check out all the other stuff I have here. I do private lessons for people who are interested in taking their skills to the next level. I have lots of blog posts, lots of cool information, lots of cool stuff. Consider becoming a channel member. Consider becoming a patron. All of you, I appreciate each of you for the help and support you show. You make everything possible on this channel. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to everyone who submitted. The next live stream feedback will be March 27th. So set your calendar, set your alarm, set your reminders for Monday the 23rd. That's when you will be able to start submitting. Submissions will be open and they close the following Thursday. So you've got a good 4 days to submit. Set a reminder and keep an eye out for the announcement. Thank you to everyone who submitted. I hope you got everything you were looking for and more. I appreciate each of you. And yeah, I'll see you next week, my friends. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.